Today on Locked On Canadiens, a lot of injuries, a lot of LTIR. We're going to talk about the updates, and there is the possibility that Carey Price's return is nigh. That's coming up. And then we're going to talk about who we're bandwagoning for the playoffs, and we're going to answer a question that we're getting from a lot of listeners. All of that is coming up in today's Locked On Canadiens.
For Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to episode 593 of Your First Listen of the Day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Please check us out as well as on YouTube. My name is Laura Saba, also known as The Active Stick, and I'm joined, as always, by Scott Matla of Habs Eyes on the Prize. Scott, the injuries just keep coming. There are no Canadians that haven't been on at least IR at some point this year. It feels like it's a deluge. How are you doing tonight?
It is truly, absolutely stunning to me how this team, even when we think they're in the clear and we're finally done with this, just injury beatdown after injury beatdown. And I am appreciative of the team's very openness to share this with the fans and everything on Twitter. But oh my God, it's just so friggin' depressing that every day I log in and somebody has like an exploded butt cheek or something on the Canadiens because that's the way this year has gone so far.
It is a bad luck year, and the Canadiens do have by far the most man games lost to injury apparently this year. Also, they have more than they've ever had for recorded history or something like that, which is like they started calculating this like 20 years ago or something. So it is a very bad luck season, and it answers one of the questions though that one of our listeners was asking you, Scott. We talked about it a little bit in the comments of the YouTube. Was where's Emil Heineman? And you said that JF Houle doesn't know when he's going to be ready. So today we have a little bit more information on that. He sustained an upper body injury in Sweden. He is in Montreal. He's being evaluated and treated, and they're hoping that he will be able to join the Laval Rocket at some point. Hopefully this evaluation isn't another season-ending injury, because that seems to be the theme with Montreal.
Yeah, and I think it's disappointing because I was hoping to see him play relatively soon because I have what I've seen from Patrick Bexell, our expert in Europe, or specifically in Sweden. And I kind of want to, be able to watch and see for myself to see if I'm picking up anything while he's playing on North American ice. And him being out, it's disappointing. But at the same time, I'd rather him be healthy for next season than try and play through something this year. And I think the bigger piece here that I'm even more disappointed by is that Justin Barron is done for the year. He doesn't need surgery on that ankle injury he sustained against Ottawa, but he's done for the year. He was in Laval after the deadline, and he was supposed to be a big piece of their defense going into the playoffs there. He's played for Colorado's AHL affiliate, also Colorado, the Eagles, and he would have stepped right in and been a huge boost in that lineup. And I think losing him, it stings a little bit if you're the Rocket there. They're going to get Corey Schoeneman back at some point unless he suffers a devastating sprained pinky finger or something like that.
Don't put that out there. Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's just going to happen. I've learned to accept it at this point. But it stinks. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, they've set out an NHL record for most man games lost this season at this point. So what are you going to do? What's one more injury, I guess?
Well, it doesn't work for Laval though. That's the problem. But that is one of the biggest issues with Justin Barron being injured, was because we thought that he was going to be really big for them in the playoffs. And that's fine, because I feel like the Laval Rocket are pretty stacked in terms of people who can come back to the lineup, people that they're getting back from injury themselves, which is, we are going to be a bit Rocket focused as they approach and hopefully make the playoffs. But we are also going to talk about the injuries on the Montreal Canadiens club. So we talked a little bit about Jake Allen Martin St. Louis confirms that it is a different injury he sustained in that game against the Toronto Maple Leafs than the one that's been plaguing him earlier this season. He's just had a really, really bad luck season, and we really hope that he gets better and he's going to be ready for next season. We hope the Canadiens keep him, even though he's a prime trade chip. We love him. We want him to stick around. And so, we just hope for the best for him, because truly he did everything that he was asked. He's one of the Canadians that I find that when he showed up here, he really truly understood his role. His role was to support Carey Price. Every soundbite that he gives after the games is well thought out. He's always really, really good and articulate, and he doesn't court controversy, but he's also very confident in what he answers when he's asked. So he's definitely, I don't know about everybody's favorite, but he's one of my fan favorite Montreal Canadiens. And then the big news, sort of related to goaltending, is that Jonathan Drouin was put on long-term IR. We knew he wasn't coming back before training camp next season. So that means that there should be room to bring Carey Price back.
According to Cap Friendly and Puckpedia, they both confirmed this. The Canadiens now have more than enough cap space to activate Carey Price from LTIR. For a guy they call Jesus Price, him likely returning on Good Friday is just a little bit, or Holy Saturday, whichever sacrilegious one you want, is when he's likely back in the lineup, which I think is, quite frankly, great fun, and I think a huge treat for a lot of people here. I think you're going to see a boost similar to when Martin St. Louis came back. It's that, hey, Carey's in net. We got to go out there and do our best. I'm really excited to see 31 in the pipes again this season. And that's a huge mental boost for him too, I think, is that he wanted to play before the season was over, and now he's getting the opportunity to do so. And it also allows Caden Primo to go back to the AHL at the Rocket, a level where he belongs at right now. So it's a win-win all the way around. Unfortunately, not for Jonathan Drouin, but hopefully his injury heals up and he's ready to go for next season.
Yes, absolutely. And so our fingers are crossed. Carey Price returning at home. Here's the thing is that, like, I am going to a game in a couple of weeks, and I was like, wouldn't it be great if Carey Price returns then? But if it's before that, I'm even happier. It just, unfortunately, I don't have a ticket to that game. So either way, it's going to be so good to see him. And the thing that I like about Carey Price this season was that he wasn't rushed back. Every year when he gets injured, he gets rushed back. And this year, that did not happen. So I truly hope that he was able to heal, and he's going to have a long, productive season next year. He's going to be happy to come back. And, the team seems really happy to have him around as well. You're seeing all over their socials. They're excited to have Carey Price back with them. In the meantime, in our next segment, we're going to start talking about the teams that we're bandwagoning for the playoffs. But first, we are going to answer a question that we are constantly being asked by our listeners and our YouTube commenters. They want us to know they want to know from us, personal issues aside, where we think Logan Mailloux's upside is. And we will talk about that in just one moment. And that's coming up. But first, let me tell you about something that has been really saving my life lately, and that is HelloFresh. It's been saving me time and keeping me healthy because I don't really have time to go out there and plan a menu and go grocery shopping and then have to throw out groceries that I've bought because I wasn't able to cook them and all of that. All you have to do is check out HelloFresh because I love it. The ingredients travel from the farm to your doorstep in under a week, so they always arrive fresh. And trust me, there's a difference in flavor and taste with fresh food. All of this without a trip to the grocery store or the farmer's market. It's all about convenience with HelloFresh. Not only do the ingredients come pre-portioned so you're not overbuying or wasting food, but it's easier than ever to get filling meals on the table in a snap with options like family friendly for if you have a big family, or quick and easy if you're me. It saves me so much time. And like I said, you don't have to go to the farmer's market, which is always a treat, but who has time for that nowadays? And they close so early. Just get HelloFresh. It'll come to your doorstep. Go to HelloFresh.com/LockedOn16 and use the code LockedOn16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. All right, Scott. So this is a question that we commonly get, especially since we've been talking about the Montreal Canadiens defensive depth. Many listeners have asked us in the YouTube comments as well as over email, if you put Logan Mailloux's personal issues aside, where do you think he projects into the Canadiens lineup in the future? A lot of people are suggesting, could he be the number 1D that the Canadiens are missing, that elusive number 1D that we're talking about? And so if you want to take an honest look at this, and I'm just going to say real quick, we're not going to relitigate this all over again. We were not happy about the pick. We made our feelings known. We also made our feelings known about what we thought that he should do in order to get back into that, that like to be ready to play. And Kent Hughes himself also agreed in an interview with Arpan Basu. He said that before we look at him as a hockey prospect, we have to look at him as a human, and his personal growth is more important at this stage. He's also injured right now. He had a season-ending injury, so you can count him on the Canadiens IR list as well. But it's been it's been hard to kind of put him into the lineup because of everything that's going. And I do think, this is just my feeling, that a lot of fans, because of what happened after the pick, they want to believe that he was so good enough to warrant all of that. And honestly, I personally see him, and this is from reading a lot of scouting reports. I have to admit, I haven't watched much more than the highlights, but from what I'm gathering is that he has a high upside, but also the potential to crash and burn if he can't improve certain aspects of his game.
So I look at this from the viewpoint of, at 31st overall, he is someone that they were banking on reaching his ceiling, which is someone who can play with a powerful offensive upside and a physical upside to their game, more so than someone like Caden Gooley. And I look at Matt Drake is the one who was following him a lot, following the OHL prospects, the QMJHL prospects. And I look at him and I go, you can see glimpses of what he can be as a player, but there are inconsistencies. And with that, part of that issue is he's played like less than 30 games in the last year due to his suspension from the OHL for his own actions as part of his punishment. His injuries this year, he got absolutely walloped in a fight and injured in that regard. And I don't have a full picture of what he can be right now because he hasn't been healthy enough. He hasn't been in the lineup long enough to fully analyze him. And it's a very high risk piece there. I'm not sold because I don't think his hockey IQ is where it needs to be yet as a player. And he's a young player. That's understandable. No one comes in and can be, a Patrice Bergeron or an Erik Karlsson in his prime on defense and see the game in a certain way. I look at him and I think if he sorts out how he reads the game and, learns his positioning and his hockey IQ increases, that's someone I think can be very useful in the Canadiens organization. But right now it's not there. And that's why I like a prospect like Jordan Harris or Caden Gooley, because they rely a lot on their positioning and defensive awareness to utilize things. And he's not there yet, which he's a younger player. He shouldn't be at that level yet. Next year in London, it's going to be, can he take that next step? And then we'll have a little bit more of a fair analysis of him. Like Laura said, we're not going to go through and relitigate everything we said. I have made my feelings known about this. There were other picks I would have made regardless of what's going on there, but I also wanted a forward at the end of round one, not a defenseman. But we'll see. It's one of those times we'll tell things because he hasn't played enough games to get a fully accurate read on what he can be. But there is potential there, like every other prospect. It's a matter of getting the mental part of the game figured out and combining that with his physical traits to get the most out of him as a player.
And that's the thing, because if you look at the way the Canadiens want to structure their future, he does have attributes that fit into that philosophy, right? He's very good at skating. Like, his skating is something that even before he was drafted, the scouts would call out. That was something that people said, okay, he's really great at that, especially for his size. He's a large player who can skate gracefully and quickly. That is one thing. The other thing is that he shows offensive flashes of brilliance. But another thing that we need the Canadiens to do, and the Canadiens themselves need to do, is something that we've criticized the team as a whole for a long time, is their decision-making on defense, their positioning on defense. So if he's not able to develop that aspect of the game, and again, you said, it's not necessarily that he won't, it's just that he lacks that right now. If he can't do that, then he can't be he won't fit in very well into the lineup. And so when people say, could he be the number 1D? Like when we're having that conversation saying that the Canadiens need a bona fide number 1D, we're talking like a Victor Hedman type guy, right? We're talking like a Zdeno Chara. We're talking like a Cale Makar. We're talking about a guy that is a cannot miss number 1D. Like that's the kind of guy we want on this team. If you're not going to get more superstar than Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, no knock on them, they are elite. But if you're not going to have like an Austin Matthews or a Connor McDavid, you need somebody in your defense that's that good, right? That's why we're saying we want, if the Canadiens don't pick Shane Wright, we want them to go for a guy who can be like a no questions asked, can't miss number 1 defenseman. So when we say who's going to be the number 1D, that is what we mean. All right, so we talked a little bit longer than we expected to about Logan Mailloux, but I hope that answers all of the listeners who have been asking us to talk about that. That is, and I'm just going to say, refer to episode 593 anytime anybody asks, because that's how we feel right now until he plays more games and he does more personal development, and the organization is ready to welcome him back into their prospect lineup. In the meantime, we are going to talk about bandwagon teams, and we also want your thoughts on the gross thing I should eat or drink. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just one moment. But first, remember, Built Bar is our favorite sponsor for a reason. They are a protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar. Built Bar is a treat. They have 18 delicious flavors. They're all low in sugar and high in protein. They're all made with real chocolate, and they are delicious. And they always have these special edition flavors, you know, like a brownie batter puff or a churro puff, all this stuff, like, you know, cheesecake. They have so many delicious flavors, and you can use them, you know, before you go for a hike, as a pick-me-up in the afternoon, like I do a lot, or as a breakfast on the go, as like I do a lot. As you can tell from listening to this podcast, I'm very disorganized with my time, and that's where Built Bar really helps me. It gives me the energy that I need and always feels like a treat. It doesn't taste gross, doesn't have a gross texture like all the other protein bars that you've heard of. And if you want to try Built Bar, go to built.com and enter promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's built.com, enter promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. All right, Scott, before we launch into a discussion about our bandwagon playoff teams, or this is also a listener request as well, we hit 500 subscribers. Thank you all so much. And I promise to eat something gross or drink something gross on video. So right now, the front runners are, I have to do the Hot Ones Gauntlet, which is eating a series of hot sauces on wings. Our friend Andrew Berkshire from Crosscheck NHL and Game Over Montreal has the sauces and has offered to let me borrow them and film myself eating those. There's also a cocktail involving ketchup was a suggestion, and it's actually a cocktail with like gin and other things in it, but there's ketchup as part of the ingredients. Scott, don't demonstrate a preference for any of them. Somebody in the YouTube comments that put pizza in a blender and drink it. I don't know how I would do that without adding a lot of water, but please don't select that. And then there was, I have to do some prairie fires. I don't know what the number is. So those right now are the front runners, and I'm forgetting what our nemesis Will asked I should do, but it's definitely something disgusting. And there was a ghost pepper shot. I don't know where to find ghost pepper gin or vodka or whatever it was, but those are all the selections. If I have to do a ghost pepper thing, I probably will die, so please don't select that. But those are all the suggestions. So please, if you have any other suggestions or if you have a preference for either one, please email us at lockedoncanadians@gmail.com or tweet us at LO_Canadians. You can also tweet me at The Active Stick. And all right, I'm going to stop talking about this because Scott is melting on his end of it.
Ketchup's bad enough, but why in God's name or Satan's name is there gin involved in this?
It's a legitimate cocktail with other ingredients too. I have to pull it up, but there are other gross cocktails that you can suggest if you want. I'm
y'all
just telling
need
you,
Jesus.
Yes,
y'all
we do.
need Jesus.
We do.
Oh my God. Let's just get to the bandwagoning before I have to learn any more about gin ketchup cocktails, because I don't think that I am mentally prepared enough for anything involving that. I know I'm not the one drinking it, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
make my co-host suffer through gin and ketchup. Jesus Christ, people. Get a
Well,
grip.
okay, here's the other thing too, is that you have to think about it has to be fun to watch, right? So the Gauntlet is probably fun to watch. The Ghost Pepper one is going to be over in like 25 seconds. I'm just going to be crying and dying. The gin might be, it'll be like when you did the Mountain Dew video. All right, we're going to stop talking about this because Scott is going to start crying. All right, one of our listeners, a long time listener who we love this, suggested that we talk about which teams we are planning on bandwagoning. And I believe they said they were going to bandwagon Florida for Ben Sherratt, the handsome Ben Sherratt. I believe that was what they said. If I'm wrong, please, Desobes, let me know I was wrong. Scott, where do you want to start? Eastern, Western?
Let's start in the East because my first thought is it's not going to be Tampa, it's not going to be Boston, and it's not going to be Toronto. So we can just cross that off. It's not going to be Carolina because no. And it's not going to be the Rangers because no. It really comes down to like me likely cheering for the Panthers and their chaos wagon of hockey because it's fun as hell and also Ben Sherratt. So like as much as them losing early helps because their draft pick's not till next year. So yeah, I'm going all in on the Fancy Cats, to be quite honest with you, in the East because they're fun. They're absolutely a wild hockey team. Like an on-fire chariot of a hockey team is, you know what? It's the playoffs. Let it ride. I have no rooting interest overall, so chaos it is.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Florida is the best choice because, I mean, I'm never going to cheer for the Penguins. You can't make me. I also feel the same way about the New York Rangers, Chris Kreider. I can't spit on the YouTube. It's very, very unattractive, so I'm not going to. But just imagine, every time I say his name, I want to spit. So no Chris Kreider. But Carolina, I feel like was a team that I would have liked before all the garbage and signing D'Angelo and that, Montreal kind of, that smugness there. So that's definitely not on my list, but they do look really, really promising. Tampa, obviously, as a Montreal Canadiens fan at this point, society needs to move beyond the need for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Boston, not a chance in hell.
You're a Bruins Flyers fan. How could you possibly do this?
I love that long-running meme. And Toronto, absolutely not. If you paid me $1 million to say something good about the Toronto Maple Leafs, I would still be hard pressed to do it. I would take the $1 million and I would say something nice, but then I would have to go throw up. All right, those are our Eastern choices. Essentially, are the Florida Panthers, and the Florida Panthers go Ben Sherratt. Please eliminate Toronto and lift the Stanley Cup above your handsome face and beautiful hair.
So we got the Western Conference then next, right?
Yeah, we got the Western Conference, which isn't truly decided yet, but I do think that we both have a very strong preference for a team.
Yes. As much as them losing early helps the Canadiens, I desperately want the Calgary Flames to go deep because I absolutely adore them as a team. I do not know why. I just feel a kinship to them, but at the same time, I also look at Colorado as a team who, one, should win for the process of building a team, and also Arturi Lehkonen being on that side. He has a piece of my heart out there in Colorado, and also obviously Tyler Toffoli in Calgary. So either one of those two teams, but right now I'm hopping on the Flames bandwagon. Shout out to Scorch Stack. They had it first. Also subscribe to Scorch Stack. So that's where I'm going with that.
I also have chosen the Calgary Flames, very much for the Scorch Stack reasons. Subscribe to the Scorch Stack. Also, Tyler Toffoli, he was definitely a player that I loved, and he and his wife Kat, when they came to Montreal, they're another set of people where, we talked about Jake Allen really getting it. It's the same thing with Tyler Toffoli and his wife. Like, when they were here, they really got what it meant to be part of the Canadiens organization, part of this fan base and community. So I really love them, and I want them to be happy. I want them to lift the Stanley Cup. Also, the Calgary Flames have just been exciting to watch this season. They were quite underrated for quite some time now. Everybody's taking notice, obviously. But, Johnny Gaudreau having an amazing year. Matthew Tkachuk, who I hate but would take on my team any day. All of those things. Calgary is definitely the team that I'm picking. But I honestly, truly wouldn't be too disappointed with Colorado winning. I just think it's really funny that they can't get past the second round. But we do love Arturi Lehkonen, so maybe we'll change our minds for just for him. And obviously our friend Arik Parnas from Eyes on the Prize, who ended up working in their analytics department. While we are jackasses on the YouTube. I guess you aren't an alumnus yet, so you still have time. But I'm a jackass. So as an alumnus, like, he is working for the Colorado Avalanche. Mark Dumont is obviously working for the Canadiens. Andrew Berkshire is leading a YouTube revolution, and I'm just a jackass on the internet.
What? Stop that, for one thing. If we're going to talk about jackasses, though, we're going to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, who, if they make the playoffs, are one of the very few teams that I am absolutely rooting against, regardless of who they play. They're gonna. I think it was Adam Gretz said this on Twitter, is that they're going to enter the playoffs, activate everybody from long-term injured reserve. Like, they're not even doing like the Tampa thing where it was one player. They're putting everyone on there right now so they can activate Mark Stone to play a little bit. And I'm just kind of like, this is so blatantly bullcrap that I'm looking at this and going, you can't treat people like this. And I just want them to lose. And I want their Twitter account to block me because it sucks. And I do not like that franchise now for reasons that have just, I was like, cool, they're fun. And then they're just like, we're going to buy everything. There's no process except for spending money. And I'm over it. I'm done. I want to see their downfall so they can know what it's like to suffer like the rest of us have as hockey fans. They've only known the joy and success of being good. And I want to drag you down into the muck of what it currently is like to be a Canadiens fan, because you don't have any prospects because you traded them all for aging assets.
Thanks for Nick Suzuki.
Yes, thank you for Nick. I was not expecting to yell at the Vegas Golden Knights tonight, but here we are. So that is my spiel on that. I am done yelling tonight. The dog looks slightly concerned in the other room.
I missed one shout out, Julian McKenzie, who was also an Eyes on the Prize alumnus, and he has like 14 jobs in mainstream media. So everybody was successful except I'm a jackass on the YouTube. And hopefully, you guys are enjoying this. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on YouTube as well as every other podcast platform, literally wherever. Just search Locked On Canadiens and you will find us. You can find us on Twitter at LO_Canadiens if you'd like to follow us there. If you want to email us, you can send us questions to lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. You can also send thoughts and observations. We get those. We love those as well. You can also leave questions in the YouTube comments. If you're a jerk, we'll delete the comment. Also, I accidentally deleted somebody's comment a while ago who was praising Scott, and I promise I wasn't doing it on purpose out of jealousy. Like, I literally was trying to remove an actual spam comment and I just clicked the wrong like dots. So I'm really sorry. So the person who was complimenting Scott, please rewrite your compliment in our YouTube comments. I'm so sorry for erasing that comment by mistake. I couldn't bring it back either. I didn't know how to do it. Anyway, leave comments if you want us to answer them in the mailbag questions in our mailbag episode. And in the meantime, once you're done listening to this podcast, please check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey, because now is the time for the hockey fan or NHL fantasy playoffs, and you want all of their advice. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.